First Samuel 16, 1 to 13. It's a long read. I don't know if I'm going to read all of it. Yeah. Of course, yeah. Samuel anoints David. The Lord said to Samuel, "How long will you mourn for Saul, since I have rejected him as king over Israel? Fill your horn with oil and be on your way. I'm sending you to Jesse of Bethlehem. I have chosen one of his sons to be king." But Samuel said, "How can I go? If Saul hears about it, he will kill me." The Lord said, "Take a heifer with you and say, I have come to sacrifice to the Lord. Invite Jesse to the sacrifice. I will show you what to do. You are to anoint for me the one I indicate." And we know how the story goes. And finally, David was anointed. Of course, when you read from 1 to 13, it's a long read, but kindly, if you have time, read. So today's devotion is entitled Key to Greatness. Key to Greatness. Be obedient in small things. You know, sometimes God can require you to do something and you think it's not a very important task. Possibly God wants you to go and wipe chairs in your church, and you're thinking, me and the way God has lifted me, that one should be for other people. Or possibly God tells you to do something for someone and you even forget. And it's so funny because today, since yesterday until today, I actually shared with a few people close, I was feeling like I'm not at peace. But it is because there's someone who had shared something very, how do I say, something that actually made me cry before I prayed. I think that was on Tuesday, and I had purpose to call them, but I forgot, and that took away my peace, you know. And I think God is telling us that when you are obedient in those small things, they don't look important. Nobody will ever know apart from God. Nobody will ever know that he asked you to do that important thing. Those are the things that lead to promotion. Now, we all have a picture of where God is taking us. Some of us have received prophecy, while some of us, it's a knowing that cannot be shaken. Yeah, what are we doing as we wait for God's purpose to unfold or manifest? This was the first time we encountered David. He's tending his father's sheep, a job his older brothers looked down on. 1 Samuel 17 and 28, look utaona hapo. David's father didn't even consider David important enough to be included in the big event. When it was time for war, though we are told that he was a mighty, valiant man and a man of war, 1 Samuel 16 and 18, nobody remembered him. But God saw David's faithfulness in his seemingly unimportant tasks. It was part of his preparation for leading the nation. He took the job seriously. When a predator like a lion or a bear came to attack the sheep, David did not just think, those are just my father's sheep. I'm not going to risk my life for those silly sheep. He went after it, rescued it. You can read that in 17:34 to 35. Later, Saul heard of David's skill as a musician. Yani, he was not just sitting there watching sheep. He decided to do something about it as a musician. And the king summoned him to his palace. I'm sure that as David played his harp out of the field, he never dreamed that one day it would open a door to play for the king. When it did, David served well in this more important task. Obedience in small things may not seem like much. We tend to sit around wishing that God would use us for some very important task, like slaying Goliath, not realizing that it's the obedience of these small everyday tasks that God sets before us. Nobody else knows. God whispered in your heart, please call that person. Please go and visit that person. Please do 1, 2, 3 things. These are the things that weave together and make a rope that enables us to bring down the Goliaths in our lives. The moral fiber which enables us to attack and defeat huge problems in life is made up of strands of obedience in little moral choices that confront us daily. Controlling wrong thoughts, guarding our speech, controlling anger. So God is telling us today that there are certain things that, you know, like I heard Joyce Meyer say that for a long time, a whole year, God was teaching her to return the shopping cart where it's supposed to be. Small things, but they speak greatly. It talks about your integrity and your character. So several truths to remember. I'm just going to share one because of time. He chose David his servant and took him from the sheepfolds, from tending the sheep that had their young. He brought him to be the shepherd of Jacob his people, of Israel his inheritance. So David was their shepherd with an upright heart. He guided them by discernment and skillfully, which controlled his hands. Psalm 78, 70 to 72. God is asking us a question. You want me to lift you and do those great things that possibly were prophesied. Are you obedient in the small things that I've been telling you? We go for a short break. I'll be back in a short while.
FM, another quality service from Christ, is the Answer Ministry. Listen and live on 93.3 FM in Nairobi, 93.9 Western Kenya, and 101.9 Mombasa.
James 2:23 says Abraham believed. How many believers here tonight? And it says it was accounted to him for righteousness, and he was called the friend of God. I thank God that he calls us his friends. In spite of all that we have done, if we'll